Mandy, a wonderful movie that's become an instant cult classic, with a very special place in my heart. Truly a love letter in its own rights to the blazing, acid-induced synthscape of an 80s many of us never got to know personally, and a film which has left many of us in equal parts confusion and awe. Walk with me as we make our way through the esoteric insanity that is Mandy. Despite the violence, madness, and sadness, at its core, Mandy's a story made of love. And it's through this exploration of love that we enter into the story. Throughout the first half of the film, there are three distinct colors that keep emerging over and over again: blue, red, and purple. Each of these colors representing a certain character or idea. The color blue is representative of Mandy's character. Her essence or aura is a deep blue. Akin to a vast ocean, she's expansive and deep, filled with many experiences, yet cold and haunted by many lingering sorrows.
I lifted the crowbar up real high. And brought it down real hard on the little baby bird.
She's complemented by Red's aura, red, while a very intense and perhaps unstable essence on its own. Mandy cools Red into a gentle fire that loves and appreciates her experience. He swims around inside of her reality, warming her, and together they manifest the soft, beautiful, and complex color of love, purple. There's a special feeling to this kind of deep love. When you share everything with someone, this pure love will begin to merge your sense of self with them, melting into each other and becoming something far more beautiful than you could ever imagine. Mandy gently lulls you into this creamy, dreamy headspace, letting you become acquainted with the tender energy of their relationship before showing us how twisted love can become. It's shortly after we become acquainted with their relationship that the character of Jeremiah is introduced. Jeremiah leads the children of the New Dawn, and his relationship with his followers is the antithesis of Red and Mandy's relationship. Love is something that causes a weakening of one's ego, as we've seen through Red and Mandy's relationship. However, things become extremely sinister as we watch Jeremiah use the language of love and connection in order to control those who follow him, twisting the universal desire for love and acceptance found within us all, and leveraging that to gain absolute control over others as an extension of his ego.
Now show him how much you love me.
It's through this entitlement over others that he sees Mandy as nothing more than something to be claimed, getting his followers to kidnap Mandy, and since he cannot use real love as a form of connection, he twists it into sexual fantasies. Mandy sees right through this as she calls him out on his ridiculous narcissism and proceeds to laugh in Jeremiah's face as his fragile ego begins to crack.
Shut up! Shut up!
Because of this, Jeremiah feels the need to impose his power over her, no matter how extreme. Love is not permanent. While love does conjure up the deepest of connections, so too will it ultimately create the experience of separation. Becoming separated from love is one of the most painful parts of the human experience, and it's through this dualism of love creating suffering that the image of the martyr has been made since ancient times. Red quite literally becomes a martyr as he must experience the horrible suffering of his eternal love for Mandy burning to the ground. He becomes bathed in a harsh shade of crimson as her blue begins to fade from the rest of the film. In the traumatic wake of losing Mandy, Red immediately caves into his inner demons. An alcohol-infused state of rage and sadness begins consuming him. She's no longer here to cool his fire, so he begins spiraling into himself. Faced with the deep, consuming void, black begins to trickle into the film. Black is a new central color, shown to us through the demon bikers, representative of our own inner demons, the parts of us that, in the wake of separation, turn to drugs, porn, and rage in order to fill the void. Red is quite literally engaged in a battle with his demons, both slaying them and feeding them, all while being distracted from his true goal, to come to terms with the trauma of losing his lost love. As he's defeating his demons, Red takes some of the special sauce that leads him to the chemist, an oracle-like figure and perhaps a physical manifestation of acid, who guides him in the direction towards the hideout of the Children of the New Dawn. Instead of pointing his rampage inwards, now, as Red has rekindled his rage, he projects it outwards and onto those who've hurt him. One by one, he faces each cultist and overcomes the trauma inflicted upon him, until he finally faces Jeremiah himself, asserting total control and power over the man who sought to destroy him. Red's fire has overcome the chapel as he gets his sweet release from the depths of despair he's faced.
The darker the horror, the brighter the flame.
Now that we've gone through most of the film, let's rewind a bit and uncover the near invisible mystery hiding inside of Mandy. Throughout this journey, there's been a key color I've left out specifically for this section, that of green. A color very seldomly sprinkled throughout the entirety of the film that holds an unimaginable weight. We first see it near the very beginning of Mandy as we watch her walking through the misty green woods as she comes across the corpse of a dead baby deer. In this moment, Mandy faces death for what it is. The green of the forests that surround her can only exist through the death, fertilizing, and nourishing its soil. While we may think of green as the color of life, it's just as much the color of death. And it is this death aspect of green that transforms the way we see her character. When someone who you love and adore, someone who lights up your life and lets you become a part of their world, when that kind of a person dies, they don't really leave you. A piece of them is still trapped inside of your mind, like a ghostly echo of the person you used to know, and they begin floating about the distant corners of your reality. When Red loses Mandy, she isn't really gone. We see her ghost manifesting throughout the whole film. Mandy loves reading fantasy books, and it's the things that she chooses to enjoy and engage with that end up seeping into the very structure of the film itself. Metal aesthetics, art, all of these find their way into the film. As Red has yet to let her go, he unknowingly holds a part of her within him.
Under the crimson, primordial sky, surrounded by the jagged rocks of the ancient volcanic mountain, the wretched warlock reached into the dark embrace of the fissure until his hand touched a smooth, glassy surface, cold as ice. His fist closed around the serpent's eye. Slowly he withdrew it and held it before him in the fading light of the blood-red suns. It glowed from within, a ghostly emerald light. Strange and eternal.
Although Red is still intertwined with the memories of Mandy, his image of her twists over time. We see this in the dreams that haunt him, images of her floating in an abyssal ocean, her face literally falling apart as green maggots eat away at her. In order for Red to gain peace with himself, he must accept the separation and let go of her. After burning down the chapel of the New Dawn, all of the colors that have previously been far more separated and independent of each other begin to shift and blur over Red's memory of meeting Mandy. Her sickly, twisted green visage becomes washed over again by her original aura, a deep, all-encompassing blue. Once more, they share in each other's colors before the deathly green returns. In this moment, Red lets go of her and becomes the totality of his own aura once again. Love, loss, death, and demons. Mandy's been instrumental in helping me navigate my own feelings about losing those I care for. And I would be lying if this whole video wasn't just some elaborate way for me to understand these feelings that Mandy knows all too well. In the process of making this, however, it struck me how universal of an experience this is. It's like Mandy feels like a blueprint to navigate these arcane emotions. It's through movies like this that we can begin mapping out the human experience, and it's through the human experience that we may begin mapping out ourselves. This has been Love Letters.